Hey, what's up guys? This is Old Painless here looking at another third-party figure. Today we're looking at BadCube Sunsurge, which is their take or their rendition on Sunstreaker. So this has been a pretty highly anticipated figure. I was lucky enough to get this last week, so I'm finally getting a chance to look it over and show you guys this figure right here. Initial impressions, man, it's a pretty sweet looking vehicle. I mean, that really fits the Lambo mold quite well. These weapons do pop off. There's a peg there on the base of the handle, which will plug in right there on the roof of the vehicle. But if you take that off, you can set that aside, and you can get a nice look at the Lamborghini model right there, which is obviously a little modified with those chrome thrusters or vents, whatever those might be right there. You can see those from the front. Hopefully that's in focus. There is a side shot. Again, chrome and chrome rims right there. Super nice. Chrome spoiler. We do have some chrome on the rear, this little latch right there. The back's a little odd looking. I know that's been one of the complaints by board members and taking a look at this car itself, but I believe this is fairly accurate to the G1 toy. So you know what, it is what it is. If that's really its one flaw, then it's no sweat off my back, that's for sure. But overall, really nice all mode. Rolls very well, and again, it comes pre-installed with the chrome. And again, you do get the silver painted gun. It has a extendable handle right there, which actually is ratcheted as well, and then it has rocket launchers, which are chromed. They both detach. There's peg holes right here on the sides. Those fit right on there, no problem. And then we'll take a look at some of the other accessories while we're kind of talking about the car. So it comes with this clamshell package, and I'm dropping everything inside there. You do get other options, so you get silver painted wheels instead of the chrome, in case you don't want to do the chrome look. Silver painted vents for the top, or thrusters, whatever you want to call these. Painted really well, by the way. Very well done. There we go. You do get silver painted spoiler pieces in case you want to swap those out. Replacement screws, I guess, in case you lose some. You do get another head right there. I'm not too sure if that's popping in properly. This one actually comes pre-installed. It's more of a stern neutral face. There's just a straight lip or straight mouth on there. I actually went ahead and swapped that out for the sort of grinning look, which I'll show you later. You do get chip here, which I don't care at all about. This is going to stay in the bag. I don't care about these little figures. I don't display them. I don't display Spike or Daniel or any of those guys, so it is what it is. Looks decent enough. The arm is fallen off, but I believe that just pegs right into the side right there. Whatever. And you get a little mini screwdriver in case you don't have one to do the part swaps. But those are your parts that you get. I'll pull that aside, and I'll open up this little baggie right here. So you do get two cards, actually. Sunsurge, Old Timer Series, BadCube, Robots, your standard tech specs, all that fun stuff. I can't read that. I'm assuming it's Chinese. But, yeah, there you go. That's one. You get a white version there as well. And English there this time. You can take a look at that if you want to. Again, I hope that's focusing. I do have autofocus on. Again, more specs, vehicle mode. Nice illustrations all around. Not stuff that I really care about. They'll go back in the bag. And then we do get the instructions. Sunsurge. Pretty lengthy instruction manual, actually. And rightfully so, because there's quite a bit going on with this transformation. It's standard BadCube fare, but to be fair, it's really not overly complicated. It's just a lot of small parts, panels, pivots and whatnot, and hinges that you gotta deal with. But part list breakdown, some vehicle, shots there, robot shots, some descriptions, and then they do a pretty good job, I'd say, of the instructions. Again, quite lengthy. And then they also show you towards the back mounting the weapons, assembling the chip figure, how to replace the different chrome pieces in case you want to put silver on, or vice versa, what screws to remove. And then also some concept art, which is kind of nice. Looks like more of a Cybertronian or futuristic alt mode right there, so pretty cool. And then some paintings rather, of Sunsurge, and supposedly that's Sideswipe right there. There we go. Good stuff. Very nice. We'll put that aside. We'll put the gun aside. For some quick comparisons while we're here, this is the one that everyone wants to see. There he is with Sideswipe, his Lamborghini brother. And man, don't they look nice together? Those are in frame. They look pretty darn good. I mean, aesthetically they match up super well. Obviously, I haven't put any repo label stickers like Autobot symbols and stuff on there to match up. But in terms of just looks, lines, the overall aesthetic, it is pretty much spot on. The windows look like they're same design, same sort of Countach design. In fact, even like the lines and the paneling on the side, obviously due to transformation, but that looks even cleaner than the official. There you go. You get a shot of the rear right there. Obviously a much nicer back of that figure right there versus this sort of weird looking rear. There we go. So that looks pretty good actually. So take a look at that right there. Quite nice. But other than that, yeah, that's the vehicle mode. I think he really fits the bill. I think he looks quite accurate to the G1 car. As I mean, this looks like it really came off the screen, and it really fits quite well and sits next to the official line. So, yeah, good looking car. I'm very happy with this. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get this guy transformed to robot mode. I gotta say, the transformation is not that tough. It's certainly a little intimidating on your first go through. I know some people said they've gone through it without the instructions. I definitely recommend just having the instructions handy the first time you do it. Going from the packaged bot or alt mode to robot is definitely a lot easier than going back into car mode, though. I say that specifically because when you go back to vehicle mode, there's a lot more sort of tighter clearances. I mean, obviously you're condensing everything back into this form. It's nothing like an existing masterpiece car like Sideswipe. A lot of sort of tight clearances and tolerances, manipulating, like rotating the doors and stuff back into place. So that's actually the more complicated way to do it, because just the clearances and sort of squeezing parts through that you have to. Whereas going to robot mode, it's a little more forgiving. You kind of can open things up, and you have just a little bit more flexibility and clearances to move parts that you have to. But neither are really that complicated, so let's go ahead and we'll jump into the transformation. And one quick note, I'm going to do the initial transformation the official BadCube way, and then I'm also going to afterwards modify specific transformation aspects to, I think, what people are sort of referring to as the more ideal look, or the better transformation. So let's get started off. We're going to go ahead, and there are these tabs back here. These just open up like so. And basically all these do is they kind of lock the spoiler pieces in place to the back wheel well. We can head up to the front. I'll just lift these up. Okay. And it's kind of cool. It kind of looks like you're like a functioning hood for the vehicle, but whatever. Next is we want to kind of jiggle this a little bit. We basically want to get these doors unpegged. Again, not really an intended feature, but you know, it's kind of you can kind of raise the door up if you want to kind of give it that look. But there we go. Unpeg the feet, and we just kind of bring these out a little bit. Again, let's pop that up there. You can see the foot's kind of unfolding as we do this, so that's good. We can flip these tabs forward, and these just kind of came forward as I was transforming, but nothing too crazy. This definitely gives us some flexibility and some clearances to work with here. The feet just kind of slide forward like that for now. What we can do next is come up to the rear, and basically we gotta unhitch the spoiler here. So not really tough. It's a little tough at this angle, but it kind of clips together right there. We want to rotate the spoiler pieces around 180 to give us that central channel to work with. And what we're going to do is take this piece and sort of just fold the spoiler junk underneath that piece. There is some plastic flexing as you're doing this, but it's loose enough where it doesn't feel like you're stressing it. You don't feel like you're scared to crack anything or break anything. So, you know, while there are some tight clearances and tolerances here, it feels fine. Like I'm not worried about breaking this figure. So, you know, do this with confidence. That's basically what it is. You can untab the silver piece back from the top, and that gives you the ability to sort of pull this up and through completely. So, kind of like BadCube's Warpath, this is going to kind of explode in our hands a little bit, and basically you're going to kind of rearrange all the parts, panels, hinges, and pieces to get us into a robot. That seems to be BadCube's style these days, I guess, with their last two releases. Let's go ahead, we'll flip this over, look at the underside of the car, and we can kind of get these spoilers out of the way. They're on another hinge system here. You're going to see a lot of manipulation for this part in particular, but we'll get there in a second. Let's go ahead and loosen up the arm, and we can kind of fold this outwards. This whole wheel assembly actually rotates 90 degrees outward right there. And we can do the same thing here. And if you notice, there are some sort of hinges in there as well that this piece will rock on top of. We're going to leave that as is for right now because we want the clearance to set up the spoiler section first before we go any further with that. Next step here, I'm going to actually just pull the head and fake chest assembly through. Alright. So again, it's an exploded mess right now, but it's not too awful. While we're here, we're going to rotate the waist, bring that forward, and now we're going to handle the feet and the legs here, okay? So the official transformation will have us rotate these around. This is one of the clearances that gets a little tricky, just doing that 180 rotation I just did, going back to car mode, depending on you know, what steps you take first. So we're going to fold that window in completely, like so. And then there actually is, hopefully I can get this on camera, a little notch, like right there, which will plug into a little sort of clearance there. So we'll just push that into place. There we go. So the window is inside there. Make sure that tab is still up. And actually, one thing I want to do here, just to give us a little bit more room, we can extend these arms, and this whole back piece is actually on a rotation, so we can get that up, spin at 180. This will be the transformed method here. So you might as well spin that 180, get that pushed up, so that gives you a lot more room to mess around with the legs here. Okay. The next step is we're going to take this little peg right there, and we're going to push it up to clip over that black plastic right there. So make sure we push in this section all the way in, and then you got to kind of force this up and it'll click into place. A little intimidating the first time you do it. It feels a little unnatural, but it does clip on pretty well. And that is that. And actually, give me 1 second. Oh boy, I should have grabbed this before. I'll just grab a small screwdriver. These heel pivots are really tough for me to get with my fingers, so go ahead and just grab that, pull out the heel spur, and that leg is done. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side over here. Rotate, squeeze that door in, compress this leg inwards like so, clip that tab up onto the black section there, and then again get that heel spur out, and then the official way we'll have the feet up like this. So we'll keep it like that for right now. I'm going to change that around once we get to that point. But that is essentially the lower legs taken care of for right now. The next step here, we want to handle this mess of a spoiler. So basically this Y-shaped section there will fold all the way down, forward on itself. And again, this nothing too complicated. It's a little tough doing this in front of the camera. There we go. Oops. Come on. Since you get the clearance to get this stuff through. There we go. If you're having trouble, then you can just basically fold these side portions, downwards to free up that middle section. I recommend doing that. But once you fold that Y-clip down, then you go ahead and rotate this all the way through so that gray piece comes down as well. And we want to rotate the spoiler sections so the larger middle section of the wing faces backwards with the tip of the spoiler facing towards you right there. And that's a pretty clever way to condense and hide the spoiler inside the actual torso of the figure. So really cool idea actually. Go ahead and take these side panels and we'll accordion these upwards here. Just rotate up like that. They go over the spoiler. It kind of just locks all that stuff together in the middle right there. We can go ahead and flip this panel down, and that will sort of tab into place below that little black peg right there. And then what we're going to do here is there's actually a peg on the underside of that the roof of the car, which will just peg into place right there just to kind of secure everything. Not really crucial, it kind of just falls into place naturally, and this whole mechanism up top is really secure actually. So anyway, let's go ahead and move this upwards. What we want to do here is this whole back kibble kind of folds together. We have to extend this chrome piece, and then this black piece will fold into that channel. This peg here on that chrome will go into that hole right there. Doesn't really go in super well. It just kind of goes in there loosely, at least on my figure. But gets the job done. And then we'll extend these arms here just to get them out of the way. These black plastic pieces will fold down 90 degrees. And then there we go. There's a yellow peg right there, which this black section will basically peg directly onto. There we go. And this will basically keep, on both sides, will keep the back kibble and backpack basically secured in place. But that is that. So that's your back section right there. Now we'll go ahead and just flip up these top portions there. They kind of just hinge out and up. just like that. I'll go ahead and extend one hand. There we go. I'll leave the other one tucked away just for the time being so we can attach an accessory. And then this section will come up. There's a couple ways you can do this. You basically want to split this section here. And if we look on these gray hinges, there's going to be a little nub on the end of it, which basically you want to have this gray piece rotated or pushed all the way forward, so that little nub is directly against the black plastic right there. So just grip it by the black plastic and move that all the way forward, just like that. Hopefully you can see that on camera. There's a little gray nub there directly against that black plastic. Now what some people do is they will compress these portions back first and then seal everything up by folding this down and tapping it in place. I find that a little bit sloppy, actually. So what I like to do is I like to actually tab this top section first, and if you notice there are holes here, 2 per side. Those correspond to these pegs here, and then there's a squared off peg here which corresponds to these pegs right there. So do your best to fold this up and then clip this down into place. Grip it by the shoulders if you can, because you don't want these to rock down. You want to be able to get these tabs in nice and tight. And it's a little tricky the first time you do it. Sometimes the head kind of sinks down and then comes unhinged like I just did, or comes on peg. I mean, again, it's not overall not that tricky. It's definitely a bit tougher doing this behind a camera. There we go. But that's pegged into place. And what you do now is you just rotate these back in those hinges, and they kind of just pop in there. There we go. And that will actually help prop up the front torso. There we go. Come on. There we go. You might need to adjust some things here and there, but for the most part, that is it. And what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and grab one of the rockets. There's a peg here. It's also on the same on the other side in case you want double rocket fists, but we'll do just one like that. Go ahead and pull the head up a little bit. You can see he has a smirking head right there. This is the default configuration, and that is Sunsurge. So again, not really a complicated transformation per se. It's definitely more complex than the standard, masterpiece fare, but I mean, all in all, once you go through the transformation, 1 or 2 times, it all makes sense. It comes together pretty sensibly. There's just a lot of panels and hinges that you have to manipulate to get it to this point. And when you do, I think this is a really nice looking figure. So that is him in robot mode. And again, that's the default settings. Let's go ahead and bring in a masterpiece figure. So as we can see right here, the default setting puts him a little bit shorter than his brother Sideswipe right there. And that was one of the issues that people had, with this figure through pictures and whatnot. Let's also bring him in here. You can take a look at him with Sphinx. I mean, all in all, I think he looks pretty good still this way, but I do think there are better ways to display this figure. So let's go ahead and take care of that. For me, what I like to do is unhinge this from the black plastic. This is a little nerve-wracking because it feels like you're putting stress on it, but it's really not that bad. But what you do is you extend this inner piece, and you can actually extend this ratchet down a little bit right there. And in doing so, you create a wider looking lower leg. Just for comparison's sake, this piece pops out. The foot actually extends another about maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. So you get additional height. The door no longer sits directly inside the outer foot right here. Instead, the door actually sits on top of the foot, and you end up just getting much better proportions. It almost gives you that sort of look of like MP Prowl, for example, where it's a thick lower foot as it sort of tapers its way up. But it's a smooth sort of transition from foot to lower leg, whereas this side is obviously much more abrupt, jutting in like that. So give me a moment. I'm going to go ahead and just get this other leg adjusted so you can kind of get an idea of how he looks in this modified configuration. There we go. And we'll talk about stability and everything else as well by doing this. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, you really don't lose any stability. You do actually gain some additional ankle articulation because this is no longer clipped in. You can actually bend the foot at that pivot, which might look a little goofy depending on what kind of an angle you're putting it at. But for the most part, it just stays upright just like so. But yeah, that's actually I think a much more natural leg configuration. Much better in my eyes. There we go. The other issue people had was just the width of the shoulders. The natural configuration had them straight out like that. I think that actually looks pretty good. Just for comparison's sake, if you want to, you can rotate those ratcheted shoulders down to give it a closer body look right there. Actually, I think that looks really nice. My only complaint with this setup is that it puts the fist too close to the knee, which is a little bit unnatural for the anatomy. So what I actually like doing is I actually angle these upwards like that, which doesn't bother me. It gives you a really tall shoulder, but he's supposed to have a tall shoulder anyway, due to these protrusions right there. I don't really know what these actually were in the cartoon, but I mean, he naturally has a large shoulder, so to me this looks like the best configuration. You get a closer arm to the body. The hands come down to about halfway down his thigh, so it's anatomically looks really nice that way too. And I think the feet and the lower legs look awesome. They are a bit gappy, I'm not gonna lie. You can see right through it, but I think it actually looks quite nice. One thing you can do is you can actually open up, if you want to bulk this out just a tiny bit more, you can actually pull out the doors, and then you can actually fold out the windows and then close the door back up again, and then you can use that to help bulk out the rear of the leg right there. Oh, and that is a little panel that should be straight down, by the way. So just to give you an example of what you can do with the rear leg right there. But that is Sunstreaker in sort of the modified and my preferred way to display him right there. Just to give you a comparison again, here is Sideswipe, and you can see that now they're pretty much head to head. I think they look really good together. Here is Sphinx. Oh man, those guys look so good. And I'll just throw in a wheel jack just because I can. Awesome. Look at those guys. So good. And then we'll throw in, how about MP10 just for another comparison. So yeah, that's a pretty sharp looking team right there. I love it. I think aesthetically he really fits in quite well with the Masterpiece line. So does Sphinx, by the way. But I mean, these two together, it's a great fit. Let's go ahead and get these guys out of the shot. We'll start taking a closer look at Sphinx. Or not Sphinx, I'm sorry. We'll start taking a closer look at Sunsurge. Alright guys, so taking a look at Sunsurge, I think There's quite a bit of good stuff going on with this figure. In terms of just, paint apps, it's pretty subtle. It's not meant to be a heavily painted figure. It's meant to be, or it's meant to fit the masterpiece aesthetic, which means, glossy paint for the vehicle, more matte plastic and whatnot for the robot parts like the thighs, for example. Great head sculpt. We'll take a look at that real quick if I can get that on camera. I think that's a really nice rendition of Sunstreaker's face right there. Very clean paint. Yellow applied in there. Nice bluish greenish eyes. Silver painted face. And I think the wings and stuff along the head frame out the head, or frame out the face rather, quite nicely. A point of contention has been the fake chest right there. You know what? Doesn't bother me. It really doesn't bother me. I think this format really gets you to on-screen accuracy, which is what the Masterpiece line is all about. And there's been other Masterpiece figures out there. Optimus Prime MP10 has a fake grill in the front. I mean, this isn't the only figure out there using some shortcuts or cheats to, in order to actually achieve a better looking figure in terms of better aesthetics and better proportions and whatnot. So if it's a point of contention for you, if you can't get over this, there will be other options out there. There's another Sunstreaker third party coming out down the road, which will actually use the full parts like the roof of the car for the chest. And you never know, there may be a official one down the road. Who knows when they'll actually come out, if it ever does. But for the time being, I mean, this just kills it. I think this is amazing. So I gladly take some fake pieces like that just to create a better, proportioned robot. It looks great to me. Getting back to paint apps, we do have some black detailing there, glossy yellow paint applied throughout, again on the exterior portions of the vehicle. They're all obviously visible. Well, this is actually hidden in vehicle mode, but this is going to be still glossy painted on there. Clean paint all along these little panels for the windows there. This is black plastic with looks like silver detailing there, and this is actually black plastic but painted glossy yellow, and it works really well. In fact, I think that's yellow paint and that's yellow plastic. They actually match up pretty well. And we do have some yellow paint there on the outside. Blacks and whatnot along the abdomen, blacks in the hips there. Again, a lot of solid colors, but it's meant to be like that. Black plastic here, silver and red paint apps on the inside, very cleanly done. Black on the knee, black and silver on the bumper. Clear plastic headlights with the silver paint on the inside right there. Nice chrome rocket right there. Good side shot. You can see the chrome rims right there. Black detailing for the door there as well. The side view mirrors are actually made out of rubber, which is kind of nice. I'm not really scared of these breaking or snapping off. They're a pretty flexible rubber, which is nice. And then there's the backpack, which I think actually cleans up pretty well for what it is. I mean, it is a little kibbly, but it's super stable. These two pegs lock everything in place. The combination of this panel folding over, these two clips here, and then this kind of going in between, I mean, it keeps everything super, super secure. And again, that other peg on the inside, which locks the roof to the back. But I think that overall it looks pretty nice. It's a clean looking backpack for the most part, and it looks good in profile too. On the back there's also pegs here which can be used as weapon storage, so you can actually pop that rocket on there. There's also a hole right there which can function as a gun storage option, so that's pretty cool if you want to pose your figure with all the weaponry and stuff on the back. It's definitely an option. Looks really clean on the side of the profile too, and looks good from the front as well. But yeah, I think that looks quite nice. I might as well show the gun in his hand here too. Fairly standard masterpiece fare here. We just ratchet out the handle. It has the channel, or the peg there with the channel in the fist. Pops into place pretty well. It's a little looser than I'd like, but you know, once you close up the hand, it's going to hold it like a champ. There you go. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and go over some of the articulation here now too. So head is on a, it's like a mushroom peg right there, as well as a hinge. So you do get a full 360 rotation. You get slight downwards for the look, as well as a huge upwards up look there as well. So that's pretty nice. Shoulders are on a ratchet here. It's kind of a soft ratchet, but it does go up and down. When you do the full upward and the full downward extension like I have like this, it does limit the articulation a little bit, but you do have a ball joint in there, which gives you full flexibility, tons of articulation, pretty much anything that you'd want to do with the shoulder it can do. Upper bicep swivel, double hinged elbows. So this top, or this top elbow joint here is on a ratchet, and this bottom part is just on a friction joint there. Standard stuff, pretty nice. Hands on a swivel. Fingers are single one cast molding right there. No actual articulation individually, but they are on a single pinned hinge, so you can get some open hand poses there if you want to. The hip skirts do open up. They give you the full range of motion you're looking for, forwards, backwards, outwards. That's all money. Looks really good. Waist swivel, obviously. Hips do bump in a little bit to the back kibble, but I mean, it gets you the, well, look at that, it actually went all the way around. You do get all the waist articulation you'd possibly need. Joints are, for the knees, are double jointed. You can basically get that back. You can hear that nice clicky ratchet, and then this ratchet here is a little more of a hard ratchet, but you can kind of mess around with those knee joints, but you get all the articulation you need. There's a ball joint in the toe here. One thing I'd recommend doing is if you are posing your figure with the leg extended like this, because it's not locking into the black section here, you have the potential to maybe break that plastic if you're not careful with it. You can see it flexing right there. So if you are going to pose the foot, I recommend holding it right here so you can then just manipulate the joint independently of flexing that plastic right there. There we go. But all in all, quite posable, very well articulated, well proportioned too. I mean, he really fits the part. I think that's an excellent rendition of Sunstreaker. Alright guys, so final thoughts on Sunsurge, BadCube's rendition of Sunstreaker. You know what? I think it's a pretty big success in terms of taking on a figure that's sorely needed in the Masterpiece collection. I think BadCube has more than succeeded with this figure right here. Well proportioned, especially if you do the modifications on the lower legs and feet. Very well articulated. Paint is subtle, it's clean, it's well applied. It matches the Masterpiece aesthetic, I'd say, quite well. I mean, there's even surprise things like little bits of silver down here on the interior of the foot, which I didn't even notice before. But they paid a lot of attention to this character, and I think it was executed very well. The transformation is not perfect. It's not overly complex. I don't feel as though it's a nightmare to go through it. In fact, you know, I have a pretty fun time, you know, picking this figure up every once in a while and going through the motions. But it's certainly not something you're going to pick up and transform back and forth on a whim and, you know, go through like a 60-second transformation, like maybe like a side swipe or like a 2-minute transformation. This is going to be a little bit more hands-on, taking it apart, manipulating all the different parts, the hinges, the panels, dealing with tight clearances and tolerances. Mentioning tolerances, I don't feel like anything is going to break. The plastic does feel pretty nice. I do think, especially when handling certain aspects like the doors, rotating those 180 around, manipulating the lower legs where you have some of these thinner hinges and plastic down below. Those are things I want to be a little bit more mindful of. Maybe take those portions a little bit slower just to make sure I'm applying pressure where it should be. You know, not flexing plastic where it doesn't want to be flexed. Just be mindful when you're handling this figure. I think if you're just patient with it, you learn the correct orders for the transformation, you learn the tolerances and clearances, it's going to be a really enjoyable figure. He certainly looks the part in both robot and alt mode, so if you are looking for a good Sunstreaker, I think BadCube has really nailed it. Excellent figure. Probably one of my favorite ones of 2015, which quite honestly was a surprise. I've never actually owned a BadCube figure till this guy right here. I appreciate the subscription. If you want to, follow me, definitely follow me down below. I'd appreciate that, and we'll talk to you guys later.